Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Deese. And listen, before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share something pretty cool that we're doing. You know, one of the biggest challenges I hear from owners across the country is in finding and developing great service managers. And honestly, that's exactly why we created Service Manager Academy. This is a 12-week program to help your managers go from top performing technicians to confident leaders. In this program, they'll learn how to lead their teams, protect gross profit margin, and create a culture of accountability and success. If you want the business to run smoother and grow stronger, check out servicemanagertraining.com. That's servicemanagertraining.com. Now, let's get back to the next episode.
Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome back to another episode of Freedom Blueprint Podcast. I am your host, Justin Deese, and today we are hanging out with Michael De Silva, the owner of Plumbing Plus out of beautiful San Diego, California. Michael, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Justin. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm excited to connect. We've run around with the same people, but we've never personally connected. So I'm excited to learn more about you and your business. And you and I are actually going to be hanging out here at the end of January at the PHCC Orange County San Diego event. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about Plumbing Plus. Like, when did you start it? What does that business look like?
Sure. So Plumbing Plus started out in 1984, just a couple years after I was born. I was working in the pool trade, building pools, and got an injury. And I actually had a baby on the way at the same time. I was 19 years old. So it became a real question of what am I going to do with my life and moving forward. So found an ad for Plumbing Plus hiring an apprentice, and I took the job. And it was some 8 years later, I had the opportunity to purchase the company. So in 2010, I purchased the company, and been doing it ever since. And, we're a smaller family business, medium-sized, I guess you might say. But yeah, it's just been a wild ride ever since then. Just grabbed the bull by the horns and went for it, and learned a lot along the way. And here we are. So my wife and I run it together.
That's always cool. That's always cool to hear story when people start out in the business just answering an ad and then they end up buying the business. So what did the business look like size-wise when you purchased it?
We were doing about $1 million in revenue. We had 4 plumbers, I want to say, and then me, the apprentice, when we first started. Took it over in 2010. We've grown it to about a little over 3 million at this point. And we're really just kind of hitting the ground right now because, those first, years are paying off the business and trying to figure out how to keep afloat. So, but yeah, it's been quite a learning experience. Funny to go from an apprentice to running the business. I purchased it and I was 28 years old, and I had most of the employees I was inheriting were old enough to be my father, and they taught me the trade. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic, but it all worked out. So yeah.
So what's the primary focus of the business now?
Service repair for residential services. That's our primary focus. Today we have somewhere between 6 and 7 plumbers, 2 to 3 apprentices, our management team, and call center. So, yeah.
So you're obviously in a really competitive market, right? San Diego's a very competitive market. What are some things that you do to even stand out?
A lot of it is just maintaining what we've built over the 40 years, keeping in touch with our existing clientele, and just doing excellent work, going above and beyond. Plumbing Plus, that's kind of what we stand for, is going above and beyond the typical service. People will contact us after the warranty's expired. We still honor the warranty. Treating people like family, and not so much a business. We do that internal of our business as well. Our employees, we treat them as much as we can like family and keep those close relationships. And I think that really carries a lot of weight. Our reputation as well online, our reviews. I think we're approaching 1,000 reviews on Google now. And then elsewhere, we've got all those reviews. But getting more involved with the community, we do like the Poway Fall. We're located actually in Poway, which is a suburb, or actually a city within San Diego County. Doing the fall festivals and being out there with the community. But really, it's hiring great people and doing great things and just continuing to, persevere on that path.
I think there's so much missed opportunity from businesses on focusing on the local community. So many of them like just lean on the Googles or the social media, but there's a lot of amazing people you can meet, and businesses and partnerships that you can have by just being out in the community. So good for you guys for leaning in on that. So let me ask you this. So obviously starting out as an apprentice, growing the business, buying the business, that obviously comes with some pretty big challenges. And so you said, buying the business, you were late 20s, and a lot of the guys were teaching you and training you when you bought it. So now you're their boss. What are some challenges, some challenges that came up from that?
I think a lot of them are more internal. You're trying to struggle with, what's my purpose? What should I be doing? How do I do that well? But we kind of quickly found help in the industry. We joined the PHCC almost immediately after I purchased the company. That was a recommendation given to me. And so I was able to, rub shoulders with people in the business that have been doing it for quite a while, and learn quite a bit from them, and put it to work. And so, things like that, or we joined, coaching networks and got business coaches, people to help us and guide us in the right direction. It was really easy for me to be an owner and just jump back in a truck and go run calls and, put out fires and deliver parts and whatever else. And I love that, but ultimately it wasn't serving me or my business. So I had to really start to, walk my way out of that
Well, good
instinct, I guess.
Well, and that's, for people who started out in the trades in the way you did, that's one of the biggest challenges. Is sometimes it's hard to sit down and really start writing systems or thinking about strategically on the business, because when a problem comes up, you're like, well, I'll just go solve it. Like it's just gonna be faster if I solve it myself. Writing a system is gonna take a long time, and just go do it myself. So good for you for stepping out of that and focusing on it. So when you think about all of that stuff, because you've got a pretty good run now with the same company, because you've never worked with any other plumbing company, what would you say is something that you wish you would have started doing earlier?
I guess I wish I would have actually applied what I was just speaking of earlier on. You kind of start to work your way out of it, and it's so easy to fall back into it. And gosh, I feel like as of even recently, I'm still trying to work on that, So it's hard when someone's saying, hey, we're out here, we got water shut down, we're struggling, we need this, that, and the other. And to just not go is really difficult. So finding that balance, and then finding the team that can help support that role ultimately. We've had to really find a good management team to take on some of the day-to-day duties that we were still doing, and delegate those to them. And it's pretty neat once that starts to happen and it actually is working, So it's a never-ending battle, but we'll keep working at it.
So let me ask you this: technology, obviously, from the time you bought it in 2010 to now, looks vastly different. What's one of those things with technology that you and your team embrace?
We do a lot. We were one of the early users of ServiceTitan here in San Diego. I want to say we're coming on 9 years with them. Big game changer for us. Our metrics were much more measurable, a lot more tools inside of ServiceTitan. It helped the plumber's experience and the customer's experience. We're now, we've been using AI for some of our answering services on the phone, or, outbounding or communicating through, social media or different sources. We're all about it. We've always, I remember back when I took over the company, the previous owner was really into technology as well. And he actually developed his own app, and we were doing work or sending information out to the field. So, the guys they had printers and laptops in the truck. And so we were, printing out contracts. We were kind of doing essentially what ServiceTitan was going to be doing early on, and kind of helped us take a step to accept the technology. And we were pretty excited to not have printers in our trucks anymore. But yeah,
You're like, I got a paper jam. I got a paper jam.
Exactly. Yeah. Plumbers
paper?
Plumbers, printers, and laptops don't mix so well. So, anyways, so we moved on from that, but, so much technology out there from, companies like Rilla that are recording, voices and coaching you through how your customer interactions going down. And then systems, how we operate a call, being consistent, the whole team has to run the call the same way. And, just being very diligent in the work that we do, and not, just it's very easy to let a plumber go out in the field and, do his thing, and you're not there to watch, but with some systems in place, whether or not he's really doing what you would hope he would be doing.
Yeah. I mean, the level of, I don't want to say micromanagement, because that's not the word I'm looking for. But the level of how you can keep up with all of that is changed so much, and it's great. I think it's good for the owners. I think it's good for the customers. I think there's a lot of good wins to that, and it's amazing. And like, as I think about my journey in the trades, and I'm a little over 20 years now, I think about how much different it was. And when we first started, it was like we had a salon book that we used, and we had, there wasn't, and then like we were very, very early with ServiceTitan, and man, that was a absolute game changer. Just because we didn't even know, you don't know what you don't know. So once we could pull these numbers, now it's like, holy crap, here's a number that we can measure, and, billable efficiency. Now this totally changes everything. So, so that's pretty cool. So one of the other things, and this is going to kind of, I would imagine, tie a little bit into the PHCC side. Were you surprised when you bought the business, how willing other people in the industry were willing to help you?
Yeah, absolutely. The PHCC created a safe place to go to and interact with people who were, literally people were handing over documents that they paid lawyers thousands of dollars for, and said, here, use this. Maybe it's talking about pricing, or how they operate their fleets, or, some people are using like a fleet service, or they're purchasing their own vehicles, or some guys run them till 100,000 miles and dump them, so all these different like concepts and ideas. And, you kind of accumulate them all, and you put them together and say, okay, this is what we want to do, and try that out. But it's been, I don't know where we'd be at without that sort of support today. I think it really helped also build confidence in us, and some sort of security in the challenge that we were up against. And you would hear other people express, what they went through, and you look at them as the most successful person in the business, yet you hear their struggles, and you go, okay, it's okay to get beat down every once in a while, but get back up. Yeah,
This is not an easy industry, and sometimes we forget that, however many trucks you've got is literally how many brands you have running around town. You obviously, you coach, you train, you use technology to make sure that they have the tools they need to be successful, but there's a lot of moving parts. And then for your technicians, they have a lot of moving parts, because they have a lot of steps that we want them to do when they're inside of there. But, this industry, man, it's been one of those. I know when I talk to younger people about, what should they do when they, graduate high school and whatever, my immediate response is always go in the trade. You have no idea how that can impact your business. And I think you're a perfect example. You started out as an apprentice and then bought the business. That's so cool. Yeah. That is very cool. So, Michael, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming event. You and I are going to get to hang out at the PHCC event. So this will be my first one for the San Diego one. But tell me a little bit about what to expect.
Yeah. Well, it's been going on for many years. It's essentially our trade show. So Saturday, January 31st at the Del Mar Fairgrounds between 9 a.m. and 3 a.m. we have our trade show. It's in the Bing Crosby Hall. So great, nice big space where we're going to have truck vendors. We're going to have, for example, Milwaukee, DeWalt, Spartan, Zenton tools. We're going to have some educational courses for socket fusion or finance mastery. So a little bit of something for the technicians, a little bit of something for the owners. Really encourage the owners to get out there because that's really where the impact happens. That's where we can help each other. But tons of new technology, tons of free giveaways. It is free to attend. It's open to the public. You don't have to be a plumber. You don't have to have a license or anything to come. So bring the kids, bring your family, show them what you do. It's pretty neat I love to bring in my kids and show them all the cool tools and they don't know what dad does every day. And so to come to that kind of sheds light on that. But it's a great event. There's food being served, drinks, tons of swag. People generally come and hang out for a few hours because it's just plenty to see, plenty to do. So it's a real good time.
So what's your thoughts on owners that are listening that are going to be attending event? What's your thoughts on them bringing their team?
I try and bring the whole team. I think similar to what I was saying about like the family coming to see it, I think that sometimes, especially newer guys, they have a focused view on how the industry is and what's out there. And when you go to one of these, you get to see the different tool manufacturers, the different restoration companies, things like IAPMO talking about codes and compliance and all that. Or if you want to get certified in something, you want to up your game and, become certified in, maybe the socket fusion, gas piping, or you're aspiring to be a business owner and you want to go to some finance mastery. But really, for me, it's all about relationships and connections. You get around and you exchange information, you learn people's what their purpose is in their business and how maybe they can support yours. And so you walk out of there with a little network of people who are on your team, and so you can also get special deals on vehicles or, anything you're purchasing there is essentially probably, going to have a good deal to it.
Yeah. So for anybody that's going to be attending the event, if you have the opportunity, I would highly encourage you to bring all of your team and encourage them to bring their family. I tell you, we, in our business a couple of years ago, we were growing, we were expanding. And when you do that, obviously, there's a lot of hours that are spent and spouses sometimes don't understand the trades. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up having all of our leadership team attend a big conference and bring their spouses. And man, mm-hmm. I can tell you what, when we left that conference, there was just a completely different vibe from the spouses of the leadership because now they started to understand they're like, oh my gosh, this is a legit industry. Because sometimes people, especially spouses, they're like, he's a plumber. It's like, no. This is a totally different industry than it was 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago. It's a different, and there's so much more about technology and leadership. And I mean, there's a reason that private equity is all over our industry, and it's not because it's not an amazing industry.
Yeah. Well, that's really kind of forced companies to step up their game, But you're right. I mean, even the plumber being in a truck, they're not just a plumber anymore. We're asking a lot of these guys and, they're offering financing and, providing multiple options on the trip. And, it's hard to balance customer relations and the workload and keeping your truck clean and inventory tight and, you name it. And then attending training classes and there's expectations. So it's definitely different from where I came from. It was do a good job, bring enough money to pay for you, and you're kind of winning. But it's definitely changed quite a bit. So, but it's good change. It's really elevating our industry. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and the amount of AI that and you talked about this a little bit earlier in the conversation about AI.
it's I was at an event earlier this year, and the amount of AI companies, and not just in one space. I mean, it was all the different things, whether it was the Rilla type or the Field Spark or, the Broccolis of the world. There was like so many
Hmm.
AI companies out there that it's really neat to sit back and see all this innovation that's now happening. But I will say this: I made a comment to one of my friends as we were walking around the stage as we were breaking down booths. Is I said, you notice what's happening to all these AI booths? People are breaking them down. So AI is not
Yeah.
there yet. So I think
Yeah.
we're on a very safe spot. We got a long runway until AI is affecting what we do as a trade as a whole
Hmm.
in a fixing broke things kind of way. Now, from a technology standpoint, it obviously has been great, and it's technology. I mean, even back in the day, people were weird about cell phones, and they were weird
Yeah.
about computers, and then Google came out, and people were like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to mess with Google." And now, if you're not playing in some capacity in that, you're probably having a hard time. If you're residential service, new construction stuff like that can get away without that. But
Yeah.
but let me ask you this: as somebody who's been in the industry for as long as you have, what is a piece of advice that you have for someone who is new in the industry and starting to come up and really wanting to make this a career?
Well, I've been doing this for quite a while, and I believe heavily in it that, I think that showing up to a job and learning the job, firsthand is great. But there's also a back end to that, and I think that you need to be, um, more open with your learning experience, and ultimately, you can learn. I honestly believe that you'd learn, probably 90% of what you need to know out in the field, with hands on. But we send all of our apprentices through the PHCC Academy. It's a 4-year program, and it really they're learning, terminology or mathematical formulas or sizing charts or all these things that are going to lead to a polished technician. He's going to have confidence in himself that he knows, if I had to repipe this helm, I could probably figure it out. And it also shows a commitment to from the employee to the company. He's serious about his career. So when we find somebody, we're going to build a career. That's our goal. If they're
Right.
not in that headspace, then we're not going to be going anywhere, ultimately. So that's huge for me. Them going one night a week after work, and that's not easy. Shows a lot of commitment. And, I think it's also just beneficial for them. And at the end of that, they get their journeyman's card and certificate, and, they're a legitimate plumber at that point. So that's been huge for us.
Well, and I think it's a big difference between being a person who has a job and a
Hmm.
person who has a career. Like
Hmm.
you have to do more than show up 8 to 5 Monday through Friday in order to advance and be better. And I think that
Yeah.
PHCC program is amazing, and it's a perfect. Yes, it's a little bit of time on their part. Actually, it's a lot of time on their part, and it's a lot of effort on their part. But at the end of the day, you're now in the field, and you're now a pro. You're not um, a peewee player. You're a professional. So
Yeah. And I think with that too, like per your question, um, spend the time to find the right company to work for that's going to invest into you like that and provide the education. And then take your time. I think a lot of guys start off and then they hear other people in the industry talking about like, oh, they're paying me, $2 an hour more, or this pay plan or whatever it is. It's very enticing early on, but the
mhm.
investment of time with the company and the people in that company can get you a lot further. I can't tell you how many times I've seen guys, kind of have the idea that they want to start their own business, go through the schooling with us, and then some year or two after that, they're kind of they want to go off on their own. And we were just about to really hit it, you know, hit a spot in their lives and our lives that really elevate, Um, so that's where I think I found my opportunity with Plumbing Plus is being there, sticking around, pushing through the
Right.
growth. And, there's ups and downs, but being consistent through that, I was seen as somebody that was reliable and consistent and wanted it. So, when the opportunity came that the previous owner was going to sell the business, I was the first one he came to. And, it's all history from there.
I think that's a really good point and a good story. I mean, what if you'd have jumped ship for $2 more
Yeah.
an hour somewhere else?
I almost did. I almost left for 1%.
Man, what
Or
a
making
change in
commissions.
trajectory that could have had.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very close to happening. And I look back and I just wonder what would have happened differently if I did.
Hmm.
It was literally a matter of a year where I could have made a decision, and a year later I had the opportunity to buy the company.
That's amazing. And again, it's, sometimes you got to give things a little bit of time. And I know a lot of times technicians, especially as you're talking about revenue numbers, they go, oh, I'm making X amount of dollars a month. I'm not making that. And they don't understand like the business. And you definitely know this firsthand. And there's a lot of differences between being a technician in a truck and owning these businesses. There's a totally different shift that happens. So
Yeah.
Well, cool, Michael. I appreciate you coming on here and jumping in, and it's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the PHCC event at the end of January. And man, I appreciate it so much, and thank you for coming and hanging out.
No, thank you. I appreciate it as well. Looking forward to January 31st.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.